So good afternoon, everyone. Is the volume maybe a little bit higher? I think this is okay. Everyone can hear me at the back? It's good? That's enough. Yeah, great. So speak louder. I am not. I'm not sure how this works. Sorry. Okay, it is on, but okay, I will increase my volume. Is this better? All right. So the course I'm going to talk about is called Social Network Analytics. And basically what I'm trying to do in this class is use a combination of networks and text analytics. And what I'm going to do today, I noticed that there were a lot of other speakers covering sort of, more or less similar topics. So I am going to focus on really like what I cover in the third part of in my class, which is really using a lot of social media and social networks and text to understand brand segmentation and new product development. So it's really a very predictive sort of an exercise. So what's really new with social media analytics? I don't need to convince this audience, right? There's kind of this democratization of celebrity endorsement. There's a lot of discoveries, insights, predictions from the wisdom of the crowd, and who matters what. So I think many of the people have already covered those topics earlier today. So network structure obviously does matter. This example is courtesy Anitesh Barua. So a couple of things that I'm doing in this course came out of some conversations that I've had with Anitesh. Ironically, I was the one who started working on this whole area of social networks, but Antesh, being Antesh, has been like really proactive with taking some of the stuff into the classroom and really like pushing this, envelope of what you can do with social networks. And so, why does network structure matter? Because who are the most popular? Who are the best connected? Who can spread help a message? Everyone knows this stuff, right? We've been analyzing this for about 10 years now, or 7 or 8 years now. There was this whole term of Web 2.0. So, I think social network analytics sort of started in its infancy with the whole Web 2.0, sort of phenomena. So what is, what can we do more than, just analyzing influence here? I think it was Vijay who was asking yesterday, does anyone care about cloud score anymore? Right? Obviously we don't care about it. So what can we do? What's something new? And what is it that we could inform like our colleagues in say marketing or operations or finance for that matter? So one of the things I'm going to talk about is just this, understanding brand and product associations through this combination of network and text, metrics. So the overview, what I'm trying to do is from a paper published in Marketing Science by Oded Netzer and his co-authors. And this was a 2012 paper. I think it's called Mine Your Customers. Right? And the important thing is when you're teaching, taking some of these ideas from like fairly cutting edge research and bringing it to something like an MSBA classroom, it's very important to keep it in scope because the scope of what you can do can be the subject of several PhD dissertations, correct? So I found that even dealing with really hardcore data science people, I had to really tone down the data science part of the data and focus on the business. So before I talk about what I will do, just quickly like my approach to how I'm, how I was approaching this problem is that I figured that one of the best ways is that I would create like these custom Python scripts and sort of compartmentalize the problem, if you will, right? So at the end, I will show this flow chart that I give the students. How do you do, how can I use social media analytics for brand segmentation or prediction? Right? That's the bigger objective. And the idea is, again, you can take it to an executive audience, you could take it to an MBA audience, you could do this for an MSBA audience. But to keep a sort of framework where we can scale up or amp down the level of, technological sophistication and analytics capabilities that you need, that's like one of the ideas. And the other thing is to sort of discretize or, chunk out the different tasks. So break the bigger task into like 3 or 4 smaller things. And at each point, you can sort of seg into, increase the level of complexity or decrease the level of complexity. But I want to show the actual like flowchart at the end because I will just describe like the approach, how we will do. And some of this may not be very new. I think Anando has done this, before. As far as I'm aware, Anando, probably Ravi knows about this. Anando, Ravi, and maybe I think Anitesh are the only people who've used some of the social media analytics for brand segmentation type of stuff. So I'm really excited to talk about it here. And as I said, I didn't want to cover one more what's influential, who are the important guys in social media. So, we could just, the idea is that predicting retention, spending, whole lot of, things that are relevant to decision makers, right? So can we use, for example, changes in customer perception of specific brand attributes using social media data? That's the bigger question, right? And I, do this for a few sessions. It's almost like 2 weeks I cover this in class. And, one of the end results of this is the whole semester-long project is based on some of these, insights. And then we use multidimensional scaling, and that can be used to do various kinds of, branding is an obvious example, but you can study political campaigns, you could study supply chain data, you could study product networks, variety of things like that, right? So this, as I said, starts from this Netzer et al. 2012 paper. So what is this thing all about? We talked to, obviously we are from Michigan, proud home of the auto industry. And, when we talk to folks in like these big companies, whether it's Ford or General Motors or what have you, and we tell them, look, this is like some of the things we are doing using publicly available data, mind you. Their first approach is to say, wow. They're like, they have tons of proprietary data in-house. Data warehouses, whatever it is. There's a lot of stuff that people already have. But the fact that you can sort of build a customer mind map using social media, that is like what's very interesting, to whether it's auto company executives or, whoever else. By the way, please feel free to interrupt me at any stage because I think this is really better. So what we are trying to do is this. There is Edmunds.com. Most of you are probably aware of Edmunds.com, right? So Edmunds.com has a lot of, user-generated content. People are talking about car. It's a auto forum. So basically you have this product forum, and we downloaded a ton of data from Edmunds.com. That's the text mining approach from Netzer et al. So then what we do, clean, information extraction, chunking. So we parse the data, tokenize it, all the usual stuff. That, it's a standard text mining method. Right? And I'm not covering what is text mining, what is social media, because I think by this point all this audience knows it, right? So what is it that we are interested in doing? What we are interested in doing is 2 things. We are interested in understanding product comparisons. How are customers talking about various kinds of automobiles? And in what way are they talking about these automobiles, right? So for that we need something called it's a semantic network of co-occurrences. Right? Various people are mentioning various products. And intuitively, the idea comes from marketing where, if people are thinking about certain cars, what to buy, right, at the very much consideration stage itself, right? Well, then they're going and talking about it on various user forums. Right? Of course, they could be talking on Facebook too, but I don't have a way of crawling the Facebook data. And I think this comes back to Vijay's question earlier today about if, what is the car that you would really want to buy? Facebook knows that better than obviously the auto companies. So if you go to Edmunds.com, what you can do is the network of co-occurrences will tell you very accurately the overall market structure. And in fact, we find that if we do this network and we compare it with actual network from JD Power, brand switching data, it's correlated like a 0.8 or something, heavily correlated. So that was like our wow kind of moment, right? So, I will explain how we do that. So this is basic approach, right? The relationship between products and terms and the nature and sentiment of the relationship. So what does this exercise give me? Well, as I said, if you're launching sort of a marketing campaign, before you launch the campaign, you can do this product comparison network. So to understand the customer mind map. And have you really shifted the mind map in any manner after we do this whole exercise? Car companies are very interested in this, apparently, at least from our conversations. The other thing we can also do is, we can study these loyalty and shift behaviors over like a period of time as well, right? So again, brand switching, trends and, various other kinds of stuff. And what I will try to do is I'll send Roy and others. There are a couple of neat case studies. I didn't have, since we have a time limit, I didn't want to throw too much material. But Netzer and co-authors have a couple of very neat case studies, Columbia Business School studies. I will send them to you as well. Those are super helpful. So let me just explain quickly my approach in the next few minutes. Okay. So this is a message that's downloaded from edmunds.com, right? So it's just, people talking about cars. Text mining, I don't need to explain what text mining is. Picture, says everything. And then you have these attributes and co-mentions. So you have Toyota Camry and you have Volvo. And, people have talked about Toyota Camry and Volvo. So what about the co-mentions? So here is one of the major issues. I'm trying to understand a brand comparison network. Right? Why don't I do a simple, like a TF, IDF kind of a thing? What's the problem with that? I cannot do a TF, IDF for the simple reason that I need to normalize the occurrence of these highly popular terms. For example, Toyota Camry is mentioned with far greater frequency than a Volvo, right? So what's happening as a result is that, if I'm trying to, the Toyota Camry will just show up with greater frequency with like every other car that's out there, unless I normalize for the fact that this is a popular car. Right? So what is it that I need to do? Do terms, they just occur by chance? What is it? Or is there some actual association? Right? So we can do the lift once we normalize for the more popular words. Then we can do the lift, right? So what's the association is stronger or weaker than what we expect by chance? So the product co-occurrence data is basically, the associative network is going to look something like this, right? We have these, first, what we do is we build a network of the cars that people talk together, and we build the association with what are the keywords that people talk. So we extract brand and the term. So brand, term. And then what we do is we take the brand two-mode network, which is brand and association, and remove the association. So make it a brand network. Is everyone with me? So this is the brand and association product association network, correct? Which attributes are mentioned in conjunction with which brands? Everyone good? And then what do we do? So this is, you can see some of these problems commonly associated with, some automobiles, for example. And most of these examples come from Netzer, so I didn't invent it. He gets the credit for it. So then what we do is convert the two-mode network to a one-mode network, where we have two products. Remember, the strength of the tie between two car brands is stronger the more attributes they have in common and the more frequently people are talking about those attributes. Everyone with me? So what are some things we can glean from, what are the insights that we can get from this? Right? One of the insights we can get from this is we could look at, I will talk about the brand switching, but the very first mind map that we can understand is, if there's any safety or recall kind of issue, right? Like Volkswagen recall. What are the other brands that are immediately negative? Is there a negative halo to some brands more than others? You would get that with the previous network like this. Everyone good? Right? So, any product recalls or any sort of, any adverse events, you can quantify that using these kinds of methods. So once we do all that, this is a multidimensional scaling map. So how do we get this multidimensional scaling map? From this network, which is a transposed one-mode network. Everyone good? So this is the transposed one-mode network, and this is a multidimensional scaling. And the simple thing is, if you compare, these were 4 different ways to generate the same product comparison, and we just found, following Netzer and others, that the Jacquard index, the multidimensional scaling, outperformed all the others. So fairly technical, but it works. It's his MSBA class I'm teaching, so these guys should be able to handle it. So this is the Advanced.com brand sentiment. So one of the things you'll see is, we can do granularize this kind of analysis. Not that I want to do all this stuff in 2 weeks, but I'll just provide these shorter exercises for students to do, where we will look at economy segments, mid-market, or subcompact, small cars, whichever categories, and then try to find the attributes that are most valuable in that different car segments and so on and so forth. And then we can do positive and negative associations for which terms and things like that. So this was the form co-mentions from the actual brand switching. As I said, these are highly correlated. Right? So what are then some insights that we can glean from this? Well, this is just basic, as I talked about, this is the flow chart of how to do this. How do I do this kind of an analysis? We can start by collecting data. We can do word frequency analysis. The big challenge will be merging the words, because there's different brands. Most of us have seen it with things like CompuStat data. And usually the way I do it is just create simple macro rather than ask the students to do it, because the complexity of the task can simply overwhelm the students, right? So we do lift analysis and then multidimensional scaling, and then we do a lot of sentiment analysis and drawing insights and creating advice and things like that. So as I said, several applications. We could do brand segmentation, we could do prediction, switching behavior. We can take the same analysis and apply it to analysis of, let's say, airlines. For example, such an incident such as a United, incident. And we don't need to do this much of co-occurrence and so forth, but a simple sort of, association between different airline brands and the keywords that consumers use, right? It would just tell you, this sort of top of mind consumers, what are they thinking about when they think about these airlines? So, will United Airlines affect some companies worse than others? Right? Those are the kind of insights that we can get. So, that's more or less finishes. I just didn't want to spend, since we had other colleagues presenting, fairly technical material, I thought I'll just talk about, an application in a marketing kind of context. So what are some tools we use to collect and analyze all these social mentions? We use Python scripts, social network analysis tools, sentiment, text. We do some natural language. So this is a bunch of, I've taught all these, different kind of things. So the interesting thing about our MSBA program, it's been fascinating for me to hear about a lot of your experiences today, because our analytics program was actually designed by someone who was in the accounting faculty, which you can take it in a positive way or a negative way. No comments on it. But what happens then is we have to, as we have very data science, I'm almost done. As we have sort of more data science students come in, we have to sort of balance, program objectives such as revenue and placement with the fact that these students are very hungry for, some more technical knowledge. And so I think the result is we try to balance all these, different objectives, and I don't think it's like a work in progress. So, any comments and suggestions from all of you would be really, really helpful. And this is more or less the end of, such questions. Yeah.
More the MBA students, what are the scrapings are not necessary. So is there a way you could share the corpus of text or something?
Yes. Yeah, easily. In fact, one of the best ways to do this, I'm planning to do this in the fall, is take one of these case studies written by Netzer, the 2 case studies I mentioned, right? And then I've already scraped a bunch of data. Advanced.com API is very easy. It's very easy to scrape data. I have it. A lot of people have scraped and posted. So take the Advanced.com data. The only thing we have to do is find like some, TA or someone who will write a macro to merge stuff. So, and Anitesh has done it. He has a master primer where he has all the steps, and pretty much any MBA student can do. I've tried to copy his example. My master primer is still a work in progress, but that's exactly to do what you said. For an MBA student, we can take this whole exercise, right? We could do it in MBA, we could do it in executive audience, we could do it for MSBA, with just amp up or down the level of technical, sophistication. But increase the kind of business aspect to it depending on the audience. So that's like one of my interests.
I just have a minor comment and maybe respond to it that I think some other people may feel strongly. Which is, I was a little surprised that you painted as a conflict, the need for revenue versus hunger for technical skills. Because I actually saw those two things coming together through these analytics programs. And maybe there may be a short-term difference that to get revenue you can feed non-technical stuff, but that's going to kill everything in 3 or 5 years. And that's so I'm really surprised it's a tension versus the things that go together. And maybe that's the data you see. But
Well, I think the simple answer I would say is, the market is like pretty hot for analytics programs, right? And it's probably a geographical component. So most of the recruiters who are coming and recruiting our students, they want knowledge of a lot of things. But honestly, I feel like they would be happy with some Tableau and some R and they don't really need deep learning and TensorFlow and what have you, right? And we also have certain diversity requirements in our program, balance of international versus domestic and all those other things. And so in practice, what would happen, and it could be a Midwestern thing, it could be just maybe every other school will face this trade-off at some point. But we would see that, without having like 120 students and 3 different tracks, which is very specifically data science track versus a very business track, how do you balance all these interests in one classroom? Personally, I found it to be more challenging in some ways than teaching MBA. This is significant heterogeneity. There's a huge number of students who are coming straight out of undergrad, like business school, and coming to MSBA because it's hot. And then there's other significant number of people who they can do anything. I mean, there was like one student, I was like, I hope he would join the PhD program because really his skills are far better than. So that's
thank you very much.